Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Susan Malloy of Silver Lady Stamping. So today I want to bring you a card featuring the Quiet Meadow stamp set and dies. And this card was inspired by a UK demonstrator by the name of Alisa, let's see, what is it? Alisa Tilsner. Alisa Tilsner. I'm gonna just hold this up and show you the card. It's a white on white card and it features let me do it this way. I always get this kind of messed up. A new color, one of the new core colors called Lost Lagoon. It's actually a returning color. Let me put it up closer to the camera so you can get a better view of it. And so we're going to emboss it with the time worn embossing folder, and we're going to do a little bit of watercoloring, use the the tailor-made tags. Had to refresh my memory. I was going to say designer tags, but there's a different die set for designer tags. So let me flip the camera and we'll get started. Okay, this is another view. So this is another view of the card, and we're going to be just doing a white on white card. We're going to emboss it, as I said, with the time worn embossing folder, which is a favorite. We'll die cut one of the fern die from the die set of from the Meadow dies. We'll do some stamping, and then we'll do a little bit of watercoloring with some white ink, and attach a little bit of twine, and we'll be good to go. So let's get started. So this card opens this way. So you'll need a piece of basic white that you're going to cut at 4 1/4 by 11. And then you're going to score it. You're just going to fold it right in half. Score it at 5 1/2. And then it'll open this way. If you have it, this is Lost Lagoon. Cut it at no, this is going to be for the inside, but you are going to need it. Well, you might need it. 5 1/4 by 4. And then I put another piece on top for the inside, measuring 5 inches by 3 3/4. Now that's an optional thing because I wanted it a little bit of color on the inside, but you can just do a white on white if you prefer that. You can just do white on white. Now, one thing I want to show you before we go too much further is Lost Lagoon is very similar to soft succulent. So this is soft succulent. This is Lost Lagoon. Lost Lagoon has a little bit more blue in it, and soft succulent a little bit more green. But look at them together. Kind of similar. Obviously, there's a big difference. But if you weren't looking, if you didn't have them together, you'd be thinking, gee, I think they look similar, and they definitely do. So if you wanted some color on the inside, and if you don't have Lost Lagoon for the tag or for the inside, you can use a piece of, and if you want to mimic what I did here, use your soft succulent. So because I know that not everyone has the new cardstock yet. Not everyone has had the opportunity to buy it. I mean, demonstrators have been able to do a pre-order, but many of you are not demonstrators. You get the catalog, maybe you've gotten the catalog and have been able to flip through it, but you're not going to be able to order from it until May 2nd. So I understand that. So I would suggest, if you want to make a card with this look, go with your soft succulent. Otherwise, pick a different color. You could do it with the pinks. You could do it with yellow, gray. You could use it with a lot of different colors. So you don't need that color cardstock necessarily. So I just want to say that. Use what you have. So now I'm taking a tag that I already die cut from the TaylorMade tags, right? So these are the tags, the dies, and I used this large one, the largest one right here, rather than the one that has the rounded top. So I just die cut that from the Lost Lagoon, but again, you just use whatever color you want. And we're going to start to do some stamping. I'm going to get my large block, and we're going to stamp with some stays on rather than memento. See, this I stamped in black, but I stamped it with stays on. And the reason I did that is we're going to do a little bit of watercoloring. And stays on is a solvent ink. And so if you want to do any kind of watercoloring on your card and you need to stamp it in black first, don't use memento, because memento is a water-based ink. And if you put any kind of water on it, like if you put your water painter, like I have one of the older ones because I've ordered the new ones but don't have it yet. But anyway, this is one of the water painters. If you were to stamp it in memento and then try to put some sort of color and then put water on it, it's going to bleed. It's going to be a big mess. So using stays on, which is a solvent ink, and it's going to dry right away and it's going to stay in place. And so if you have any kind of watercoloring that you want to do, this is the ink that you want. All right, so that's what I'm going to do right now. Put some stays on jet black ink. I'm going to ink up my image now I'm going to tap this quite a few times because I have ordered my refill but didn't get it yet. And so I'm going to just tap it quite a few times to make sure I get enough stays on it for a good clear image. I was trying this the other day and I hadn't done it enough, and I just got a very light image. So that's why I'm being a bit repetitive about this. Once I get my refill, my re-inker of stays on, I won't likely have to keep doing that. All right, so I'm going to put this aside. Oh, and when you're storing your stays on, and even, let me get my memento, your memento, store them upside down if you don't already know this tip, because the ink, so, the ink, I mean, look, the inclination, if that's the right word, is to store them so that you can see the top of it. But in fact, the ink that's inside the pad will sink to the bottom. So when you go to use it, it's going to be a little bit dry. So if you store it upside down, same thing with the memento, then when you go to use it, the ink will be on the surface and you'll get a nice ink covering. Now you don't have to do that with your regular ink pads, because the way these work, when you open them, the ink pad is on the top. So when you close it and you're storing it this way, the ink pad is on the top, and so it's already facing down. So that's just a tip. Okay, my tip of the day. All right, let's see if I can do this without having to redo it. I did, just in case, die cut a second one. All right, I'm just gonna give it a little rub. Oh, that didn't work. I wonder why. Okay, so that's my stays on. It seems to be a little dry. Let's see if I can give it another go. See, these things happen, right? Maybe I should have stamped it immediately after I did this because it may have dried up a little bit. So let's just not talk after I ink up the image. All right, I'm going to give it another try. Try it again. Yep, that was the problem. Whew, thank goodness. So now you have learned a lesson from me, which is, which I hadn't even, it hadn't even occurred to me, that when you use the Stays On ink on your image, you want to stamp it obviously right away because it is like, it's not a water base, which will stay a little wet for a little while. It's a solvent based ink, and so it dried up because I was too busy chatting. Now, another thing I want to show you about cleaning your image after you have used, let me move this over, after you've used Stays On ink, you cannot use your regular cleaning cloths, they won't work. So this is my Simply Chamois, which looks like it's a wreck, right? For those who don't know, like the Simple Chamois, which is sold by Stampin' Up, and this is sort of like a spongy, flexible sponge. The ink, when you clean your ink, images, the ink goes into it, but the ink doesn't come off. And it doesn't get put back onto your stamp. And what I like about this is when it dries out, because it will eventually dry out, you can just reconstitute it by just putting it under the tap and just putting water all over it. Now I just store mine in a regular stamp case, but it comes in a stamp case. So anyway, I think it does anyway, unless I put it in there. I can't remember now. Oh, you know what? I put it back in when I wanted to show you something with it. All right. So this is just what you would normally clean your stamp with, right? So I just want to show you. So I'm cleaning the stamp. Nothing happens. It still has all the ink on it. It won't come off. So what you're going to need is Stays On cleaner. It's in the catalog, and it comes in this bottle that has like it looks like a bingo dauber. It's like felt, and it has a liquid in it, a solvent. It breaks through the solvent, and I don't know if I'm gonna see if you can see this on the camera. It begins to melt the solvent in the ink, and it gets like really liquidy. And you see it gets all liquidy. So it's melting the Stays On ink. So now I'm going to clean off the image. Now I'm going to turn this over because there is a lot of liquid on it. See if I can. Okay. I'm going to have to probably also set it aside to dry a little bit. So I'm not going to need this particular image again. Whoops. So now you can see the ink is off of it. So just so you know, if you're going to be using Stays On ink, you're also going to have to order the Stays On cleaner because you're otherwise not going to be able to clean your image off, and you might be shocked or horrified to find out that the ink's not coming off. And that's not a good thing overall, you know, and over time for your stamps. You really do want to clean your stamps to make sure that they last a good long time. You paid good money for them. You want to make sure that they last a good long time. All right, so we have this image on the tag, and now what we're going to do is just a little bit of watercoloring, and This is the white craft ink, and they don't call it Whisper White anymore. I've had this for a really long time. At the time, I bought it at the time that we still had Whisper White cardstock. Obviously, we don't anymore. We have basic white. But and so now this is sold in the catalog, just calling it white. And it's craft ink, so it's thick. It's not like a water-based. I don't think it says on the back what it's made of, but it's a sticky craft ink. And all right, so I'm not using the ink from the ink pad. I'm using a white re-inker because I just want to put it in the tray. And this comes out kind of thick and globby. And I'm just putting a drop of it in the tray. And then I have my water painter. And I'm going to just put a little bit, I'm going to squeeze a little bit of water. Like Stampin' Up! Has a new set of water painters, and you get like 3. So I ordered them, and I'm waiting for them to come in. All right, so I'm just picking up a little bit of this. See, all right, so I'm going to paint these flowers with a little bit of white. And I know it looks like there's a lot, but it's going to, though, it's when the water evaporates, it's actually going to lighten up. And where's my other one? Oh, so this is an example, right? This is what it's going to look like. Way lighter. I decided just to do the white on it because that's what Alisa did, and I liked the way it looked. I kind of had the idea that maybe I might try like a different color, like a yellow, like the Retiring So Saffron. And then I thought, you know what? I kind of like the white. So I'm just trying to go light. I went a little heavier up there, which I didn't mean to. And then what'll happen is it'll take a little bit longer to dry. So I'm going to, but we're going to be setting it aside because we have other stuff that we need to do. All right, I'm just going to wipe that here and set it aside. Okay, close up my white ink pad. I'm going to set this aside to dry. And let's see, now I want to, what did I do with it? Oh yeah, here it is. We're going to stamp and emboss this layer, which is the top layer on the top, right? Now on this one, what I did was I embossed it first, and then I stamped the faded away, the faded text, but a lot of it you can't see, and I didn't like that. So I think what I want to do is stamp it first and then emboss it. Let's see, I need another block. Here's another block. Get the text. And I'm going to use a Lost Lagoon. You can use Soft Succulent or whatever color theme you are using. Okay. And I'm going to do some stamping off. And I'm going to put one down here. And the reason I'm stamping off is this is a new ink pad, and so it's got a lot of ink on it. And then I'm going to put another one just up there. No, I don't care that it's a little off. I'm fine with that because it's going to be, we're going to emboss on it. I'm going to clean that really well. Okay, I can put this aside. And there was a step that I missed on this one. And we're going to see how well I can do it while it's still a little bit wet. But I'm still going to set this aside because I'm not quite ready for it. Now I'm going to, we're going to do the embossing. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Okay, and the die is, let's see, what is too big for the mini. So you're not, if you only have the mini, then that's not going to work. All right, so we're going to put in number 1 and the number 2 and the number 3. And, oh no, we're not going to do that. Oh, hold on, I got to get my other plate for my embossing. Uh-oh. Okay, I got it. Didn't mean to keep you waiting. All right, so I have, okay, here it is. Got my, I have my embossing folder. I'm going to just lay that in there. So you have your number 1 plate. This is a 3D embossing folder, so you're not going to put any plates on top of that. You put your cardstock inside your embossing folder with the folded edge facing in. You put your top embossing plate on top of that, and then roll it through. And that bang, for those who don't know, is just the rollers falling off the other end. It's not doing anything harmful. Okay. So I actually like that better because the other one that I did, as I showed you, was so much more faded versus that one. So I kind of like doing the stamping first and then doing the die cutting. Now let me put my plates aside. We'll take the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine away. And, all right, we can actually now, oh, let me move, my craft mat is moving. We can actually just adhere this to the front. We're ready to do that. I kind of like it when it's like white on white. It's so elegant looking. And you know, if you're just starting out in card making and you don't have a lot of supplies, you can do an awful lot with basic white cardstock. If you have some, you know, ink pads, you can use your blending brushes and swipe some color over your white cardstock just to give it a little bit of color. You can just do the edges of it to give it a vintage look. You can do a lot with just basic white. So if that's what you're starting out with, then you're still in great shape. And there's tons and tons of cards out there that do white on white. So, all right, now what we want to do is take this tag back in here, and it's still a little bit wet, but here's what I'm going to do. With fingers firmly crossed, that it can work this way. What I want to do is swipe some color all around the edges and give it a little bit of a vintage look. So we'll just do that. Now I did it on this one, but it's so light you almost can't see it, but you can see the edges are a little bit darker, right? But you know what I'm going to do first, I think? I'm going to stamp that same washed out, the same washed out words onto the tag. So let me move that over. Okay, again, I'm going to just stamp it off one time just to get a lighter color. And I'm going to put it over on the, I'm going to put it on the right and just do a portion of it. Can't really see too much of it. You know what, I might, yeah. Well, I don't want to do it in full strength. I'm afraid it'll be too dark. And I'm going to do it on the left now, kind of at the bottom. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to keep the ink pad open because I'm going to use it for the coloring around the edges. Let me just clean this off before I put it away. This is such a great stamp set, and it is being carried over into the new catalog along with the dies. So if you have it, it's not going anywhere. Move that aside. All right. So you can see this is still a little bit wet. I'm just gonna, let it keep drying. So if you've got your blending brushes in your ink pad, whatever color it is, swirl it on there, and then swirl it on your paper first so you don't get a, a smudge. And then just go around the edges. And just get, that way it gives it a really nice vintage look. If you're using white cardstock, sometimes if you do use like a, let's see, soft suede might have been a good one, but soft suede's going away. Crumb cake. So like, those sepia tones and the old photographs and stuff that you would see that would be very vintagey. But you can, but this is meant to be tone on tone. So that's why I'm doing the, the Lost Lagoon color around the edges of a Lost Lagoon cardstock. I want to do more of it. Now you can, it does fade a little bit. It doesn't stay super dark. The ink does fade a little bit as it dries. But see how it changes the whole look of the tag versus just having, let's see, here's another one that I die cut, but it's flat color and it would look fine because it's got the stitching all around the edges. But look how this one, it looks just kind of, makes it pop when you put some coloring around the edges. Makes it look very vintagey. I like that look. All right. Here we have that. And all right, and now what I want to do, let's see. You know what, I want to let this dry just a little bit more before I'm gonna just, before I put it onto the front. So I'll tell you what, why don't we, oh, where did I, let's see, did I put my other pieces? that is the soft succulent. Oh, here it is. Put stuff all over the place on my table. All right. So this is going to be for the inside of our card. And I'm going to stamp, let's see, on the inside of this one I put, again, using the Quiet Meadow, I'm not bouncing around between stamp sets. Not everybody has everything. So if, you know, if you have one stamp set to work with, and I'm not saying it's Quiet Meadow necessarily, but whatever you have, I'll try to stick with the one. So this is the heartfelt love and caring thoughts are with you. And then I stamped the image again at the bottom just to kind of tie in the image on the inside with the front. All right, so let me do that right now. And we have that, and I'm going to use my Lost Lagoon ink. Okay. Hopefully I can do this straight without getting my head in the camera. Okay, not bad. Let me clean the stamp. And now I want to just, oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. That was a loud ka-thunk. Now I'm going to just pick up some of the ink on this and only stamp a portion on the bottom. So I don't need to ink up the entire thing because I'm just going to do a little bit off. Like that. So now you have you have a pretty image on the inside as well. Okay, let me clean that. Put my image back in the case because I don't want to misplace it and then go back and to look and realize I'm missing one. That's happened before. Now we can tack it down to the Lost Lagoon layer. And this is again for the inside. And the Lost Lagoon layer on the inside, if you're doing that layer, it's 5 1/4 by 4. That's your standard layer on the inside. And then the white layer measures 5 by 3 3/4. So everything is always like 1/4 of an inch smaller than the layer below it. Okay. Put some more adhesive on the back of this. Do a little back rub. Okay. Now, this is still just a smidge still damp, but that's because I told you I was a little heavy-handed when I went to do my watercoloring. But the others are dry, but see how the white just gives it a soft look. Not a lot. Just a little something. All right, so another thing that I did, wherever I put it, and gosh knows that I've moved things around while I've been doing this. Here it is. I did die cut a fern from the Quiet Meadow dies. I'll show you the dies while I'm talking about it. So these are the dies. Now, there is no coordinate, whoops, hold on. there is no coordinating die for the featured image in the stamp set, right? But these are all the dies that you can use to die cut just from straight cardstock, and they're so pretty. And this is the one that I did. This is like a fern, and so I die cut that one piece to tack onto the back of the tag, just so it's sticking out a little bit. Right, so I'll show you. So so I just have it sticking out a little bit. And I'm just using some runner tape that I bought at the store. I didn't get it from Stampin' Up! Because I ran out of Stampin' Seal, and so I just happen to have this on hand. I've got my order in, but it's taking kind of forever. So I'm just using what I have. Now I don't want to put it face down because this is a little wet, so I'm just gonna do my best to just put a little bit of runner tape while I'm holding it up in the air. Okay, that's good enough. And of course I put it on the wrong side. Not that it really matters because it's going to get tacked down anyway. All right, you want it on the right, not on the left like I just did it. Okay, there we go. And so now it's on the right, and all I'm going to do is just place the fern so it's sticking out a little bit, and that's it. And tack it down. Just press it down, that's all. Okay, and that's all I'm using the tape runner for. Just that one action. All right, and I want to put some we're going to also do a sentiment label, but still a little tiny bit damp, but that's okay. I want to put I'm going to tie some twine. So this is the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. And it came with like 5 spools of twine. Black was in here, and I forget. Anyway, I've used up the black. I don't know, I forget what the 4th color was, but there's white as well. I still have the gray, and this might be crumb cake. But anyway, so I'm using the white. And I just want to measure how much I'm going to need. And I'm going to do it, I'm going to cut two lengths of it, and then tie a bow on the front. This is probably more than I need, but let me pull it back a little. Okay. All right. Take that out, and I'm going to cut another length of it, the same length. I just think it looks nicer when you get 2. I think this is way more than I'm going to need. Okay. Line them up. And I'm going to weave those through the little hole in the top. And we'll tie it in a little, we'll get it started. There, that'll hold it in place. And then you just want to pull the tails a little bit to shorten, make the bow a little smaller. You don't need a giant bow at the top. And we'll cut the tails. Okay. Now we have that. All right, so one of the other steps that I want to show you before we do the sentiment label is I'm going to do a little bit of Wink of Stella, which is a clear glitter brush that Stampin' Up! Sells. And I'm going to add some glitter to the flowers. I love that you can add a little pop of glitter to your projects with just the glitter brush. I'm going to put some down here. And I'm going to add some to the fern over here. It's going to be really almost not noticeable until you look at it real close. I just think it makes it that much prettier. Okay. Wherever I put my cap, somewhere, I'll find it. All right. Now I can put some dimensionals on the back of my tag. And then we'll do our sentiment label. Okay. And I'm going to mount this kind of over on the left. Now see how it doesn't really matter now that I stamped the top one a little wonky because you can't really see it. It's hidden by the tag and also by the fern. So I'm going to get a scrap piece of white cardstock, because who doesn't have a basket filled with every scrap piece of white, basic white that we've ever cut? I mean, I think I've got more scraps of white than I can ever use in a lifetime. I mean, it's crazy, right? I can't bring myself to throw it away. All right, I'm going to use Thinking of You. And then I'm going to bring my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine back. All right, I got a little shadow there. I'm going to wipe off because I hate getting those shadows on my stamped project. Okay. And I want to bring in we're going to use a sentiment label. Now I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine again. And this time we're going to die cut rather than emboss. So we'll use our plate number 1, our plate number 2, plate number 3, And then we'll put our image and our, let's see there, we'll line that up. And we'll put our second plate number 3 on top of that. Let me see, did I get that right? Yep. And we'll give it a little crank. Okay, get that out of the way. Okay. And there's our little sentiment label. Came out really pretty. Move all these things out of my way. And here's my card. Now, the way we're going to adhere it, now this has dimensionals on the back. So you don't want to put a dimensional on the left side, but you don't want to just put adhesive, and because what'll happen is it'll just, it'll be down. So you want to put some liquid adhesive or the tape runner on this side, but dimensionals on that side, so that it sticks up. All right. So I'm putting 2 dimensionals on that side. And then I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue on the left. And then what I do is I just lay it down, and then I kind of move it over until I can feel it. Oh, it might help if I took the backing off, right? All right, and then I can, now it's perfectly straight across because it's adhered with liquid glue on the left, and it's popped up with dimensionals on the right. So I hope you enjoyed this card. I appreciate you joining me today. If you want to have some additional inspiration, you can visit my blog and see what I've been working on lately. And it's silverladystamping.com, and I will include the link below. And I will also include a link that you can shop with me 24/7 if you would like to. So again, I appreciate you joining me. And there you are. Hello again. Come and visit me again. Join me for some crafting time at my kitchen table, because that's where I am, at my kitchen table. That's my kitchen window behind me that looks out on my backyard. So I enjoyed your company. I appreciate you joining me. Thanks so much. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye for now.